Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Scrassy, and today we're going to be looking into creating your very own procedural weapon recoil system. Now, this will be in a multiple part series, probably around a 2 or 3 part series, just because of how in depth we will be going into this to make sure that you guys really know what's happening. And also, unlike my other videos where I explain what is going on in terms of just looking at one node, like what is a line trace or what is casting. Instead, we're using a bunch of different variables and nodes and values to create this system, so it will take a little bit longer. I am mostly creating this because I do notice that on YouTube there isn't many tutorials on creating a procedural weapon recoil system. If you do try searching it up, you'll see that there are other really good weapon recoil systems, like procedural ones. However, they're either a paid plugin or they're just simply a showcase of what a person has done, and you really want to know how to do it, but you just can't because they don't show you. All the other ones are just very janky, or they're not or they're not customizable. Or they just simply don't teach you or tell you exactly what is going on and why they've used certain variables and certain nodes and certain values. So let's get straight into it. So before I actually start, I want to say as well that I do use an left-hand IK system. Basically, simple way of saying snap the character's left hand to the gun. I won't be teaching you how to do that just because that is something that I would have to explain later on in a different video, and it's actually not a part of this series, but it's just to make the animations look a little bit nicer. So I will show you first what I've done. So if you see here, if I shoot like that, just tap fire it, you can see it goes back and forth and a little bit, turns left, right, all that stuff. But if I hold it down, you can see it does look very nice. This is the system that I do use for my actual current FPS game that I'm making, but this is set up quickly so the values aren't adjusted and fine-tuned correctly, as well as the the curves that we'll be using. So we are using curves in combination with timelines as well, and so this is very customizable, guys. So if you don't like what you see completely, you can just go and customize how aggressive you want the actual gun to be. If you want it to be very snappy, very loose, if you wanted to adjust how far you want the gun to go back or move left or move right, if you wanted to move in a certain position, so if you wanted to move more to the left and up, you can do stuff like that. And with curves, you can just make it more realistic. So this is very customizable, and I will show you how to do that. How to customize it for your own unique games. Also keep in mind that this is just for FPS arms, so mostly first person shooter games. I might make a video later on telling you how to use this for a third person character, like third person game, but right now this is just for a first person game. Let's get straight into it. So what you want to do is you want to go and make a new folder called curves. So you can click on that, and I've already got everything set up, so I'm not going to redo everything. I'm simply going to show you what each thing does and how to set it up. So to get a curve, you want to right click, go to your search here and just type curve, and you want to click on curve, and you can see we've got 3 different options. We've got float, linear color, and vector. So for the procedural recoil Y down here, I'm using a curve float, and then procedural recoil rot is going to be the vector. Okay, so once you click on that, you can see if I click on it, just click select, you can type your name in here, okay, and then edit it. I'm going to delete that there. Now these two curves, this one's procedural recoil rot, and that just stands for rotation. The reason why we're using a vector curve for this one is because we want the gun to basically move in all directions. We can adjust how far we want it to move in all the directions. But with the procedural recoil position, which is the actual translation, it's going to be moving your character's guns or body. It's not going to be rotating it. And I found that moving it to the left, right, and up and down just looks very unrealistic. So that's why we're just going to call this procedural recoil Y, even though this is just for the position, and we're just using 1. So this will be basically just for the gun going going back and forth, and the rot will be for the roll, so going up and down, rotating left and right, and then rotating on the similar to the left and right axis as well, but on all axes. So I've got it in here, and this will be the same kind of values for the rotation as well, but all I've got is I've got a time of 0 and value of 0. Up here I've got 0.1 and 1 for the 0.1 for the time, value is 1, and then down here I've got 0.2, negative 0.1, and then at the end I've got 0.4 and 0. So the reason why I've used these values is these are just what I've played around with. Okay, you can adjust this how you want, but you don't have to even be exact. You can see I can move these around like this, and you can turn snapping off, I think somewhere. I think it's these two here. Okay, if you've never used curves before, that's fine. You can just follow what I've done here. But it's basically a way of setting up an asset so you can just import that straight into a timeline. Instead of creating the curves inside the timeline itself, you can create them in here, and it allows you to, let's say at runtime, I can actually adjust this when I'm shooting down the gun. So I can have an auto shooting system, have the gun constantly shoot, and then I can adjust this like as so, and it will update in runtime, so I can really get a nice recoil pattern. I'm going to put this back to 1, and yeah, so the reason why I've used these, you can see just go straight up in 0.1, so the gun will fire up or fire back, and then it'll go down back to its kind of normal position, but a little bit forward, and then it'll go back to normal, so it gives that little bit of a wiggle at the end. But again, you can customize these how you want. And then same thing with the procedural recoil rot. A vector or a curve vector is simply just a curve float, except it has 3. So imagine like a normal vector or normal rot. It's just 3 floats in it. So this is what it is. It's, even though don't let all the fancy colors scare you, it's simply just 3 float values. And so I've got them set up like this, so you can follow the same principle as this for each one, and then you can just adjust them. For this one, I simply just flipped it just because it was getting in the way of these two. And so yeah, you can adjust this how you want. Again, it goes down or up, and then back down, and then back to the middle, so it gives that little bit of a wiggle at the end. But you can adjust these to how you want. So now if we go back to here, we can go to our actual first person character. Okay, now we're going to set up a few things first. This first video will be mostly about setting up. So what we will do is we'll go to our functions, and we want to create a new function. Okay, we click the plus icon, and we want to create it, and we want to call it get left hand IK. All right, click on it. Now what you want to do is, for this, I do have these is valid set up. You don't need them particularly. I don't have them in my other game, but I was running into issues where these references weren't valid. They were valid after the animation blueprint started, but or they were valid. Yeah, I don't know. They're basically I was running into problems. So you probably won't have to do this, but you can just for this sake. So all we're simply doing is we are for our return node, we want to have a transform, call it LHIK. That simply stands for left hand IK. Right, what we are doing is we want to get our weapon. So this will be, if you have followed along with my line trace video, go watch part 1, and I'll show you how I set up the entire project. And so this is based off it, so go watch that, and then come back. And so what we do is we get our weapon, pull it off, and we just go convert to validated get, just to make sure it's valid. That's what it is here. You're going to pull it off, and you're going to type get socket transform. So you can go get socket transform, like that. Make sure this RTS weld is on. Don't have any of these other ones. Make sure it's RTS weld. And then what you do is you just want to split that struct pin, and you just want the location and rotation out of it. You want to do in socket name, and that is LHIK, similar to the output for this. Okay. And the reason why we're putting this socket name in here is because this is the socket name we've got for our, we go to our weapon here, you can double click on it, and you see we've got our weapon. So you can do this for any of your other weapons as well. All you have to do is you right click on that root bone and go add socket, and then just call it LHIK, and that again stands for left hand IK. And you can see it's just positioned here, and this will be where our hand will snap to. Okay. Again, I won't be explaining completely everything that's going on because this is mostly about the procedural weapon recoil system, not about the left-hand IK. Once we've got that set up, what we're doing is we're then getting the socket transform of that left-hand IK. We want to get its location and rotation. We want to plug it into here. We want to get a transform to bone space. So you want to pull off your first person mesh like this. And again, go convert to validator get, plug it in here. And then you'll pull off it and just type transform to bone space like that. Boom. Okay. You'll have that all set up. And all you want to do is you want to plug these values like I've done here, location like into position, rotation into rotation. And then bone name, you just want to do hand_R, right? Then after that, all you want to simply do is you'll see that the left-hand IK will be a transform. So you just go and right click and go split strike pin and plug these pins in as so. Okay. And that's all done for your left-hand IK system for the character. Okay. What we want to do is now, we want to go to our first person arms, animations, and go to our animation blueprint. Okay. Now I've got it set up here so you can follow along. So for the, if you haven't got this sort of thing set up, I don't think it's automatic for the first person template. I think they have it set up differently. You just want to do event blueprint initialization animation. That's basically a fancy way of saying, hey, animation begin play. Okay, it's just a simple begin play. You want to try get pawn owner, pull it off, and go pass to BP first person character. And then you want to get a reference, just call it char ref. And char ref just is simple for, or short for character reference. Okay. Then what we do is we go event blueprint update animation. You'll most likely have this already in, and that's going to be an update or event tick. Plug that into this one here. So you go get our char ref again, convert to validator get. That's how you get it there. All right. All we're doing is just checking, is this valid? And then when you want to do a sequence, you don't need a sequence. You can just have this as one long thing of blueprints. However, a sequence is a simple way of just organizing it. You can break it up and split stuff up. It makes it a lot easier to read. Don't worry about these things here. These aren't relevant. So we'll go on to the left-hand IK. So what we're doing is you just want to get your char ref, okay, your character reference, and we want to get that function that we built, get left-hand IK. All right. So you just want to pull off and type get left-hand IK. Boom. You should have it here, and then you just want to simply get that transform and plug it in or take it out and then go promote to variable and then call it the same name, so left-hand IK. You'll see we've got it right here, you setting it. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to go to your animation graph, and I've got it set up differently here. So what we want to do is if you did follow the line trace video, you would have deleted a few of the variables and nodes that were here. But if you want to set this up, I'll show you quickly. So you want to get your rifle state machine, and you'll see it's going into a rifle animation pose. You want to get that rifle animation pose, okay? And at the very end of it, you can just make a new cache. Okay, cache is basically just a way of saving this animation modification, and just call it procedural anim. And then all you're doing is you're getting procedural anim, plug that into the slot arms. That's just the slot that comes with it. If you're doing your own project, it will just be slot default, and then plug that into the output. Now between that, you'll see they've got these local to component and component to local. So these automatically come up. If I get my rifle animation and plug it into these transform bones here, it will actually create a local to component, and it will do the exact same thing when I plug it back into the procedural animation catch. Okay, so let's go and have a look at the left-hand IK first. So make sure as well, if you are using the left-hand IK, that it is after all your procedural animations. The reason why is because you want your procedural animations to happen first, and then you want your hand to follow. Okay, you want it to follow after everything. Okay, if you do the hand IK before everything or in the middle, anything after the left-hand IK will happen independently, and it will just look weird. Basically, your left hand or whatever you have it attached to won't follow properly, and it will look janky. So you have it at the very end, and it will follow after everything's done. The left-hand IK will happen, and it will follow whatever's happening currently. All you want to do is you want to type 2bone IK. So 2bone IK, like this. I'll create another one and I'll show you how to set it up. So all you want to do is IK bone. You just want to type hand L. Okay. Why we're doing this is because we're saying, hey, we want the IK bone, we want the hand L to be the one that's actually affected. We then want to go and type effector, go to our effector and change that to, I think, parent bone space. We go to here, it's bone space. So go to bone space here. And then again, you want to do hand L. Oh, hand L. So now with that set up, make sure you go down to the alpha, go here and just expose this pin, click that, and that will just remove it because it just gets in the way, it's annoying. And that's basically set up for that node, I believe. Yep, so if we delete that now, you don't delete it, but I'm going to delete it because I've already got it here. And you can see, if we go then to the joint target, click parent bone space, and then you want to do joint target upper arm L. And that's basically saying, because the 2bone IK has two, you can see them actually here. We have this down here, and this is actually the pole target. So this moves our elbow, kind of. So you can actually adjust this. You can make your arm go more inwards or more outwards, stuff like that. So I'm going to go Control Z, bring that back. Pole. So that's what it is. That's why we do the upper arm L, because we want the upper arm L to be the next bone that we're changing. That's just how the 2bone IK system works. So yeah, and then that's basically it. So then all you want to do for the effector location is pull out your left-hand IK, go split strike pin, and we're doing this because all we want is the location. You want to plug that into the effector location, because the effector location is basically where the location that we want our hand to be. And since our left-hand location or left-hand IK is what we want to snap it to, we're getting the left-hand IK socket on our gun in the world space. We are then getting its location in that world space, and we are then snapping our left hand to that area in the world space. Then for the fabric, you want to just make a fabric node, so you can type fabric like that. And then again, you want to go down to this pin and go expose this pin, so you can remove that alpha. Okay. Now for the options here, you want to make sure that you click on effector target, hand R. Okay. Make sure it's on bone space, and you'll want to copy target rotation. So that's then the left hand is going to follow whenever the gun rotates when we shoot it. It's going to follow its rotation, so it's glued to the gun. If you don't do that and you just leave it on, I think, no change, then what's going to happen is then it's going to, your gun's going to tilt and stuff like that, but your left hand won't tilt, so it will actually go through the gun. And then solver, you just want hand L, clavicle L for the root bone, and that's basically it, I believe. That's it. Okay, and then you want to simply get this left-hand IK. You don't want to split it. Instead, you just want to pull it out like this and just plug it straight into the effector transform. Awesome. We now have our IK system set up. I will go into it later on, like I said, guys, in a future YouTube video. But right now, we are just going to focus on getting our procedural weapon recoil started. So your stuff should look like this. So afterwards, you want to plug this straight into that procedural Anim. You'll see it will make a component to local like this. Okay, if you don't know how to do a cache, you just type, if you pull off here, you can type cache like that, and you'll say new save cache pose. Okay, type that in, and then you just do blah blah blah, make a name, and then now I can call that, so I can go DFG blah 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 whatever, and then now I can get whatever animation is this in. So let's delete all this, put that back in, and then that should then come out through here into the slot arms and then into your airport pose. Okay, so this is the first part of the video. I know this is a little bit of a long one, but this is just the setup on how to do it all. I think that's basically it. So we're going to close that, and the next episode will be going straight into how to set up this system. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, and I'll see you guys in part 2.